Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're taking a deep dive into something that's causing a lot of buzz in Abuja right now.
Buzz is maybe an understatement.
Maybe, yeah. We're talking about a planned power outage.
And not just any power outage.
Right, this is a big one.
A big one, yeah.
So we've got a whole bunch of news articles from all sorts of Nigerian outlets, and we're going to try to figure out what's really going on.
Yeah, get to the bottom of this.
Exactly. Why is this happening? Who's going to be affected? And what does it mean for Abuja's future?
The future of the capital city, no less.
Exactly. I mean, a 2-week blackout in the entire capital city. That's a pretty big deal.
Absolutely. It's unprecedented, and we need to understand the reasons behind it.
Absolutely. So let's jump right in. What do we know so far?
Well, the first thing is the outage is scheduled for January 6th to 21st, 2025.
2025. Yeah, that's not that far off.
No, it's right around the corner, and the announcement came directly from AEDC.
AEDC, right? The Abuja Electricity Distribution Company?
Yep. They put out a statement on their Twitter handle. Let me actually read it verbatim.
Okay, yeah, let's hear it.
Plan outage.
Okay, plan. So this isn't like some unexpected grid collapse or anything.
Right. It's deliberate planned outage. Jan 6th to 21st, due to the relocation of, hold on, this is important. The reason, due to the relocation of major electricity infrastructure.
Infrastructure. Okay, so what are they moving?
Two things. 33 kV DC airport feeder. That's a mouthful.
Yeah, what is that?
It's basically a major power line that supplies electricity to a good chunk of the city, particularly around the airport, as the name suggests.
Okay, makes sense. And the other one?
At 132 kV Kubwa transmission line towers.
Wow, another mouthful.
These are massive structures essential for transmitting high-voltage electricity across the city, so relocating them is a huge undertaking.
So why are they doing that? But why move such important infrastructure?
Well, according to AEDC, it's all because of the FCDA.
The FCDA.
Yeah, the Federal Capital Development Authority, they're the ones behind the Outer Southern Expressway project.
Oh, right, that massive road construction project.
Exactly, and to accommodate the expressway, they need to move these power lines, these towers, out of the way.
So it's like a domino effect, one massive infrastructure project impacting another.
Yeah, and ultimately impacting the lives of thousands, if not millions of people in Abuja.
Right, because this outage isn't going to affect the whole city, right?
No, thankfully not, but it's still going to hit some pretty crucial areas.
Yeah, our sources mentioned the airport, government buildings, residential zones, even places like the National Stadium.
Oh, yeah, places people go for leisure, for work, for everything.
Exactly. So it's not just an inconvenience, it's a disruption of daily life.
A big disruption, and it's not just limited to the city center either.
Really?
Yeah, the outage will impact areas like Lugbe, Airport Road, Games Village, parts of Apo, Gudu, Kubwa, and even stretching all the way to Keffi.
Wow, that's a wide swath of the capital territory and beyond.
It is. It really highlights just how interconnected Abuja's power infrastructure is and how a change in one place can ripple out to affect so many others.
And AEDC's been very specific in calling this load shedding, not a complete blackout.
Right. They've been emphasizing that it's load shedding, not a total blackout.
Okay, so can you explain what load shedding actually means for people? Like in practical terms?
Sure. Think of your house. You've got a limited amount of electricity coming in.
Right. Limited power from the grid.
Yeah. Now imagine you've got all your appliances running at once, your AC, your fridge, your lights, everything.
That's going to put a strain on the system.
Exactly. Too much demand for the available supply. So what do?
Well, you start turning things off, right?
Exactly. You prioritize. Maybe you turn off the AC for a bit or switch off some lights.
To reduce the load.
Yep. That's load shedding in a nutshell. It's about strategically reducing electricity consumption to avoid overloading the entire system.
So instead of the whole grid collapsing, they're choosing which areas get power and when?
Right. It's like a balancing act, trying to keep the lights on for as many people as possible with the limited resources they have.
Yeah. And in this case, they're choosing based on, well, the infrastructure project.
Yeah. The areas affected by the relocation of those power lines will be the ones experiencing the load shedding.
So it's like a temporary measure to keep things running while they complete this massive construction project.
Exactly. A temporary but potentially very disruptive measure.
Especially if it drags on longer than those 2 weeks.
Absolutely. And that's where things get a little worrying.
Yeah, because Nigeria's power sector doesn't exactly have the best track record.
No, not at all. And this planned outage, while directly linked to this infrastructure project, feels like a symptom of a much larger problem.
A symptom of a deeper issue.
Yeah, a symptom of a power system that's struggling to keep up with the demands of a growing nation.
And that's something we'll definitely need to explore further.
Absolutely. The root causes, the potential solutions, it's all connected.
It is, but for now, I think we've got a pretty good grasp on the immediate situation with this planned outage.
We do. The who, the what, the when, and the why. It's all starting to come together.
And that's the first step to understanding the bigger picture.
Absolutely. The first step in a journey that's going to be pretty illuminating, I think.
I think so too, and potentially a little bit shocking.
Maybe even electrifying.
Okay, I see what you did there. But in all seriousness, this is an issue that affects everyone in Abuja. Everyone in Nigeria, really.
It does. It's about more than just keeping the lights on. It's about the future of the nation.
And that's why we're here, to shed some light on this complex and often frustrating issue.
To spark a conversation and hopefully find some solutions along the way.
Exactly. So stay tuned. We're just getting started.
This is going to be an interesting one, I can already tell.
I think so too. And we'll be right back after a short break. Is there any hope on the horizon for more reliable electricity, not just for Abuja, but for the whole country?
Well, the sources do point to a few government initiatives aimed at tackling these challenges, some quite ambitious. Take the Renewable Energy Master Plan, for instance. It was launched back in 2006 with the goal of significantly increasing the share of renewable electricity by 2030.
So tapping into those abundant resources you mentioned earlier, sun, wind, biomass, moving away from this heavy reliance on gas and hydropower.
Exactly. Then there's the National Energy Policy. It focuses on clean and affordable energy for all Nigerians, prioritizing sustainability and environmental protection. And there's the Energy Transition Plan developed with international collaboration, which maps out a path towards net zero emissions by 2060 and universal energy access by 2030.
These plans sound comprehensive, but considering the long history of electricity problems in Nigeria, are they actually achievable? I mean, other countries have faced similar challenges, right? What can Nigeria learn from their experiences?
It's true, Nigeria isn't alone in this struggle, and looking at successful strategies in other countries can offer valuable insights. South Africa, for example, has been working to balance its existing fossil fuel infrastructure with a growing emphasis on renewable energy, a gradual transition, recognizing those immediate energy needs.
A more pragmatic approach, perhaps.
Indeed, then, there's India, which has made remarkable progress in rural electrification through decentralized solar power solutions. Think rooftop solar panels and mini-grids, bringing electricity to remote communities and empowering individuals to generate their own power.
That kind of localized approach could be incredibly impactful in Nigeria, given the vastness of the country and the challenges of extending the central grid everywhere.
You're spot on. But remember, it's not just about installing solar panels, it's about creating a whole ecosystem that supports renewable energy. We're talking about incentives for private investments, streamlined regulations, and addressing grid stability.
Because if the grid keeps collapsing, it doesn't really matter how much solar power you're generating if you can't get it to the people who need it.
Precisely. That brings us to the critical issue of infrastructure development. Nigeria's existing grid is outdated, overloaded, and desperately needs modernization. Imagine trying to run a marathon with worn-out shoes and a sprained ankle. You might have the energy, but you're not going to get very far.
That paints a pretty vivid picture. So upgrading those transmission lines, installing smart grid technologies, even exploring decentralized grid systems for local resilience, it all sounds essential.
Absolutely, and let's not forget the human element. This transformation requires skilled labor and effective management. Investing in capacity building is crucial. Training engineers, technicians, and managers to operate and maintain these new energy systems. It's not just about flipping a switch, it's about having a workforce that understands these technologies and can keep them running smoothly.
Right, and creating a culture of transparency and accountability within the power sector itself. Because just throwing money at the problem without addressing the root causes like corruption and inefficiency isn't going to solve anything.
Exactly. It's a multi-pronged approach. Boosting generation capacity through renewables, modernizing the grid, investing in human capital, and fostering a more transparent and accountable energy sector. It's a daunting task. But drawing inspiration from those international success stories, adapting them to Nigeria's specific context, it's not impossible.
But all these plans take time and people need electricity now, not in some distant future. What can be done to alleviate the burden on citizens in the meantime while those long-term solutions are being implemented?
That's where alternative subsidies come in. We've seen some promising approaches in other countries, and those could be adapted for Nigeria as well. For example, providing direct subsidies for solar energy systems could make rooftop solar panels more affordable, especially for households and small businesses in areas underserved by the grid or those experiencing frequent outages.
Empowering people to generate their own power like that.
Another option is to offer energy vouchers or rebates for low-income families, helping them afford electricity, even if tariffs need to be adjusted to reflect the true cost of generation.
A targeted approach to protect those who are most vulnerable to rising energy costs.
Exactly. And we've also seen successful examples of community-owned renewable energy projects in other countries. Local communities could come together to invest in and manage their own power generation and distribution systems.
Building local resilience and fostering a sense of ownership over energy resources, I imagine that could go a long way in overcoming some of the trust issues that have plagued the power sector in the past.
You're absolutely right. But let's be realistic, there will always be skeptics. Those who say, this all sounds good in theory, but Nigeria has been trying to fix its electricity problem for decades, with very little to show for it. Why should we believe this time will be any different?
That's a fair question. What gives you hope that this time around things might actually change for the better?
I think a key difference now is the growing awareness of the urgency of the situation. Climate change is no longer some abstract threat. Its impacts are being felt right here, right now. Droughts, floods, extreme heat. These are real-world problems directly linked to our reliance on fossil fuels.
And as the world shifts toward a cleaner energy future, Nigeria can't afford to be left behind.
Precisely. Nigeria has the potential to become a leader in renewable energy, creating jobs, boosting its economy, and improving the lives of its citizens. But seizing that opportunity requires more than just words. It requires action.
Translating those ambitious goals and plans into concrete steps, making those investments and holding those in power accountable for delivering results. It's a lot to tackle, but this deep dive has really highlighted the multifaceted nature of Nigeria's electricity challenges.
It has. And it's also revealed the potential for solutions, the innovative ideas, and the examples of what's possible when we look beyond the immediate crisis and envision a more sustainable energy future.
It's inspiring in a way. It's a reminder that this isn't just someone else's problem to solve. It's a collective challenge that requires collective action.
Well said. It's about fostering a sense of shared responsibility and collaboration, working together to build a brighter future for Nigeria.
And it's about recognizing that access to reliable and affordable electricity isn't a luxury. It's a fundamental right, essential for human development, economic growth, and social progress. Okay, let's shift our focus back to Abuja and those impending power outages.
Sounds good.
All right, so we've talked about the big picture, Nigeria's electricity problems, potential solutions, all that.
The long view.
Exactly. But let's zoom back in on Abuja, these power outages.
The here and now.
Right, 2 weeks of load shedding starting January 6th.
It's a reality people are grappling with.
I bet there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of uncertainty.
Absolutely. People are trying to figure out, what does this mean for me? How will it affect my day-to-day life?
Will the lights be on when I need them?
Exactly. And that's a tough question to answer.
Yeah, I imagine it's hard to plan anything when you don't know when the power is going to be out.
It throws a wrench into everything, your work, your schedule, even just charging your phone.
Like, how do you even plan your day around that?
That's the thing. With load shedding, there's no set schedule.
No timetable.
Nope. It's all dynamic, depends on demand, available generation, which areas they're targeting.
So if I'm living in, say, Lugbe,
Right, Lugbe.
I can't just look up a schedule and say, okay, power's out from 2 to 4 p.m. on Tuesday.
Not quite. AEDC has listed the areas that will be affected, but the exact timing, the duration, it's all up in the air.
So it's more like rolling blackout shifting around.
Exactly. Rolling blackouts to balance the load on the system.
That makes it tough to adapt, to prepare.
It does, and it really highlights the need for clear communication from AEDC.
Transparency is key.
Absolutely. People need to know which areas when, so they can at least try to adjust.
It's about managing expectations, reducing uncertainty.
Exactly, and building trust,
Right, because even though this is temporary,
to prevent a complete grid collapse.
right, 2 weeks of load shedding, that's going to have real consequences.
Real consequences. Oh, absolutely. Businesses, residents, everyone's going to feel it.
Businesses losing productivity, residents dealing with discomfort, inconvenience.
And safety concerns, people relying on candles, generators.
It's a recipe for accidents.
It can be. And AEDC needs to recognize that. takes steps to mitigate these challenges.
So what kind of steps are we talking about?
Support for vulnerable populations, the elderly, those with medical conditions.
That makes sense.
Working with businesses, helping them develop contingency plans.
To minimize disruption?
Right, and investing in better communication systems, keeping people informed, updated.
So it's about going beyond just the technical aspects of load shedding.
It is. It's about acknowledging the human impact, the social and economic consequences.
Because at the end of the day, it's people's lives that are being disrupted.
Exactly. Their livelihoods, their well-being, it all comes into play.
And this outage, it really throws into sharp relief the bigger issue,
Nigeria's electricity struggles.
And the urgent need for those long-term solutions we talked about.
Absolutely. We need to move beyond these short-term fixes, these Band-Aids.
Load shedding is a Band-Aid, not a cure.
Precisely. We need to tackle the root causes, diversify energy sources, modernize the grid.
Improve efficiency, invest in renewables.
All of that, it's a multifaceted challenge, but it's one we can't ignore any longer.
Abuja's situation, it's a microcosm of the challenges facing the entire nation.
A wake-up call.
We can't keep kicking the can down the road when it comes to energy security.
We can't. The time for action is now.
Think bigger, act decisively, work together. That's what we need.
Could build that more resilient, more sustainable energy future.
The future we all deserve.
Absolutely.
So to our listeners, in Abuja and beyond, stay informed, stay engaged.
Stay vocal.
And remember, we all have a role to play in demanding those long-term solutions.
The solutions that will benefit us all.
This has been The Deep Dive. Thanks for listening.